Honkai Star Rail is the newest free-to-play game from miHoYo/Hoyoverse, the developers of the popular Genshin Impact. I was initially not the most excited after hearing it was a turn-based game, but after getting to account level, or Trailblaze Level 35, and completing most of the launch content, I think I can say Hoyoverse has another winner. If you enjoy Genshin Impact and are familiar with how the game works, then you will easily be able to translate many of the features over into Star Rail, from the menus to character leveling and even the gacha system. One of the best aspects of Genshin and now Star Rail is that the game has cross-save between mobile and PC. As a turn-based game, Star Rail should be easier to play on mobile as well. I am playing on PC with a PlayStation controller, however the official PlayStation launch will come at a later date. And a quality of life missing from Genshin is that I can swap between mouse and keyboard and my controller on the fly. I appreciate that a lot. For Honkai Star Rail, I went into it pretty much blind. I did not look at any of the beta content or gameplay. Enjoyment of the turn-based gameplay was my biggest concern going in. It's not my favorite genre, and it could be a big roadblock for some hesitant to try the game. Personally, I ended up enjoying the gameplay enough, but that wasn't what really kept me invested. The biggest surprise for me was the handling of the main character and the varying degrees of crazy coming out of the dialogue. I do not know how else to describe the dialogue other than unhinged in a good way. There is a ton of flavor text with dense lore in Star Rail, however there is also a lot of fun to be had throughout. The main character, also called the Trailblazer, can give some absurd replies, and you're going to get back chiding remarks or confusing looks for your answers. They also let the Trailblazer talk a lot more for parts of the game where you're left alone, since there isn't an always present Paimon. Despite the non-open world nature, Hoyo put a lot of effort into the condensed exploration spaces. The most prominent example is that there is an entire ridiculous story saga just for inspecting trash cans. The devs know that you know this is a video game and decided to just have fun with it. Due to the futuristic nature of the setting, Hoyoverse has gone with a very modern, pop culture heavy style. Star Rail uses text messages as a medium for dialogue, which is fun, and there's a lot of relatable moments such as getting added to group chats unwarranted or dealing with ad spam. One quest even involved looking through other people's search history, which felt wrong on all kinds of levels. Don't get me wrong, Star Rail has a pretty solid story with some great, if not fantastic, characters, but I felt the balancing of complex lore with lighthearted fun was done very well. If you enjoy games that let you be a bit more chaotic when choosing dialogue, then Star Rail encourages that wild behavior when it's not in serious mode time. In terms of presentation, aesthetics, and even soundtrack, Honkai Star Rail continues to keep up the quality you expect from Hoyoverse's games. What makes it different from past titles is the form of gameplay, which takes shape in a turn-based RPG. Star Rail does let you run around and explore beautiful 3D environments, but they are kept to zones you can travel between. There is light puzzle solving involved, but it's very easy to explore entire areas, and you have many fast travel points throughout. Combat starts once you encounter enemies in the overworld, and you're able to preemptively attack them to gain bonuses entering battle. Star Rail's combat features 4-man teams with a speed stat determining turn order in combat. You have 2 actions when it's a unit's turn. A simple basic attack will grant you 1 skill point, or you can expend 1 skill point to activate your unit's skill. Either action will build energy for your unit, and when their energy is full, you can activate a ultimate. To inject some action into the turn-based combat, ultimates can be used whenever, which lets a unit cut in line to act at vital moments. You cannot cancel your ult once you've activated it. This seems intentional by design and adds a layer of decision making on the fly. Another aspect of Star Rail's combat involves elemental weakness. Enemies have a white bar above their HP, and this is their toughness gauge. Toughness only decreases when hit by attacks of the same element, and depleting the gauge inflicts weakness break. While broken, enemies take extra damage and their turn order is delayed. Breaking enemies can cancel some of their moves as well, so it's important to bring a party of various elements. On that topic, let's talk about characters. Each character has one element from fire, ice, lightning, wind, quantum, imaginary, and physical. They also follow one path, which is essentially their class type. The Trailblazer starts off as a destruction type unit. These seem to be the generalist damage dealers. March 7th is a preservation unit, who are the game's defensive support. March can shield herself or her allies. Don Hung will be our free hunt unit, who is strong in single target damage. The erudition units are the area effect damage dealers. Harmony units are the team's buffers. Nihility units are the debuffers, and finally we have the Abundance, who are the healers. While you ideally want to bring a party with a variety of path types, element choice also matters. Elements inflict different debuffs and different damage over time statuses. Dot damage is a part of the combat, and you inflict different statuses when breaking enemies with certain elements. The combat is simple at the basic level, but I did find myself discovering more and more tactics as I kept playing. More so once I started trying different teams of units. A lot of your time in Star Rail will be improving your characters, so let's talk about gear and leveling. For better or for worse, Star Rail follows Genshin's gearing system. You will level and ascend characters for higher stats. Light cones are the weapon replacements. They grant bonus stats and effects. The benefit of this light cone system is that they do not affect a character's chosen weapon in battle, which opens up more fighting style variety for the sake of aesthetics. For example, Seela has her badass purple scythe, Walt has his cane, Himeko has her pizza cutter thingy, and the Trailblazer has a good old glowing bat. It's a small spoiler, but they've showed it in trailers. Similar to Genshin, the Trailblazer unlocks different elements. However, that elemental change will come with a different path as well. The physical Trailblazer is a destruction damage dealer with their baseball bat. Their next form is a fire preservation defensive unit with a super cool flaming lance. The downside to various path typings is that the Trailblazer has to level up separate traces, which are essentially talents from Genshin, but I would say this skill tree is more akin to Honkai System with built-in stat boosts. Something to consider when looking at units are their Ascension Lock traces. These are passives that unlock at higher Ascension ranks, and they should be taken into account for the unit's overall playstyle. Next, we have relics, which are the artifacts for Star Rail. For those unfamiliar, relics will be gear you farm, and they will come with random stats and substats. The 4 left spots will be your main 4-piece sets, while the 2 right spots will have different 2-piece set bonuses. You actually need to farm the right slots from a different mode. Last up, Eidolons, aka Constellations. The most controversial part of Genshin's Gacha System returns. Eidolons have additional abilities and upgrades for your units, but you need to get duplicate copies from the gacha. Some constellations in Genshin completely change a unit's playstyle, but that is a hilariously expensive endeavor for 5-star units. You shouldn't need Eidolons for the most part, but this is just an aspect of how these games make their money. Last thing I want to go over for gameplay is that Star Rail is even more single-player focused than Genshin. There is no co-op or guild type system as far as I can tell, but you can use support units from your friends and randoms. This is fantastic if you want to try out other units without needing to level them up yourself. Since Star Rail is not a real-time action game, it also comes with auto battle and a speed up function. Both are quite nice for farming. Honkai Star Rail will find some world building connection to Honkai Impact 3rd and its predecessors. You do not need to have played those games to keep up with the story. From my extremely small understanding, the Honkai games exist in a multiverse of some kind. For example, in Honkai Impact, there are characters named Himeko and Bronya, but Star Rail has its own versions of Himeko and Bronya. They may share names and appearances, but they are different characters. I have read there is a connecting character between the two games though. On the subject of lore, what is the basis of Honkai Star Rail's plot? In the Star Rail universe, godly figures called Eons exist, and civilizations have gone beyond the stars under their paths. There are objects called Stellarons which contain immense power that often lead to destruction. A faction called the Stellaron Hunters implants you, the main character, with a Stellaron for an unknown reason. To figure out the mystery of the Stellaron within, you join the Astro Express crew to journey throughout the galaxy. This space train travels along the Star Rail, left behind by the Astro Express's previous crew in Eon, Akivili the Trailblazer. Currently, the Astro Express is owned by Himeko after she founded. Joining her is going to be Welt Yang and conductor Pom Pom. The younger members include the cheery March 7th and the more reserved Don Hung, who will serve as the game's first 2 free characters and the main party for your first adventure. Star Rail is filled with a ton of fully voiced dialogue, which breathes life into the game's characters. Pretty much all the main story is fully voiced, and the English dub is excellent. The game also supports dubs for Chinese, Japanese, and Korean, with more language options for text. Letting the Trailblazer talk out loud to themselves was a good decision. They may have a low energy temperament, similar to say Violet, but they at least get to express themselves to the player directly. Dialogue choices also feel way more impactful in this game. As part of the fun, you can turn the Trailblazer into an absolute menace to see how others react to your odd behavior. One thing I appreciate is that Star Rail has a lot of optional dialogue. There are many points in the story where if a character is just standing around, you can talk to them for additional info or to get their perspective on the situation. Something I really liked is that characters will persist in the world. Even though their job in the main story may be done, they stick around and you can even ask them about how things are going. There are companion quests which focus on specific characters, and these also are fully voiced. Some of these quests even address some loose ends, which I thought was a nice touch. As a bonus for completing these companion quests, you get to invite them onto the Astro Express from time to time. For even more character interaction, each day you seem to get a text message from someone about a random topic. I hope there are actually enough of those for new ones every day. That would be really cool. On the topic of content available, I would say there's an impressive amount. There are 3 main locations ranging from a space station to a city surrounded by ice, and then a giant space fleet ship that may or may not be based on China. Similar to Genshin, at certain points you're going to raise your Trailblaze level to access the next main story. Currently, Trailblaze Level 34 unlocks the last main quest available, but there are a ton of side quests and companion quests. I racked up quite a lot of playing time in the first week to get to level 35, easily 30, 35, 40 plus hours of gameplay. For the low price of $3.99, the experience was worth it. As with all free-to-play gachas though, the price comes in the form of needing to summon characters, which may tempt people to spend money. Luckily, Star Rail is not a PvP type game, and so far you can get by free-to-play perfectly fine. I will say that the starting trio of the Trailblazer, March 7th, and Dan Heng do just fine for the most of the game. In fact, I highly recommend keeping the Trailblazer in your party leveled up. When you do summon, the gacha system is almost the exact same as Genshin. Summoning is called Warp in Star Rail, and your summoning currency is Stellar Jade, or tickets. The regular banner is a permanent banner with no featured write-ups. This has a built-in 300 summon spark, where you can pick any of the beginning 5-star characters. Very long-term goal. I do not recommend spending Stellar Jade for this. You want to spend your currency on character event warps, which feature 1 write-up 5-star. At 90 summons, you're guaranteed a 50% shot at the featured 5-star. If you do not get them, you're guaranteed to get them within the next 90 summons. We call this the 50-50. Additionally, every 10 summons you have a 50% shot at getting one of the featured 4-star units. Ironically, it can be tougher to get one specific 4-star than a 5-star since you have no guarantees there. It's not stated in the fine print, but it is believed Star Rail has a same soft pity system as Genshin. This is a hidden benefit for players where the 5-star rate drastically increases starting at the 75th summon. Many times you will get a 5-star in the high 70s to low 80s summon. You have to be extremely unlucky to actually hit 90. One of the better parts of this gacha system is that the pity rate will carry over between the next character event warps. Now for the Light Cone Warp, this is better than Genshin's weapon banners because there is only one featured 5-star Light Cone, and you have a 75% chance to get it on that first 5-star summon. It also has a hard pity of 80 summons, though I'm not sure when the soft pity kicks in for this one. I do want to mention that you can get 4-star Light Cones in-game, and a couple 5-star ones as well. You'll need to play for a bit, but it's possible to earn them over time. Anytime you do summon a light cone or character, you're going to get another currency to redeem. 3-star summons will get you Embers, 4-star and duplicate 5-stars get you Starlight. With Embers, you can purchase additional summoning tickets, which is what I do in Genshin. With Starlight, you can purchase 4-star characters, and you can get 5-star light cones, albeit they are really expensive. In terms of freebies, I feel like Star Rail has been really generous so far. Everyone gets 20 regular warp tickets in the mail, and there are an additional 40 regular tickets spread out for reaching certain Trailblaze levels. By level 15, you can get 40 regular tickets, which you can spend on the discounted starter warp banner. You should do this because you get 50 total summons there, and you're guaranteed a 5-star character. You can insert that character into your starting trio for a decent party. However, there are also 5 free 4-stars you will get by playing the game: Serval, Herta, Natasha, Qingcui, and I think Asta everyone summons as part of the tutorial. There are 20 character event warp tickets for login bonuses and gifts. If you do all these side quests and explore these zones, you can rack up a ton of Stellar Jade and even more regular warp tickets. The obvious question is, how generous will Star Rail be in the coming future? We'll just have to see. For those curious about the Battle Pass, it is set up similarly to Genshin. Most of the rewards are experience items for leveling. If you buy the paid track, you can get additional items, plus a selectable 4-star light cone. These are Battle Pass exclusive. Regarding skins, currently there are none in Star Rail. Honkai Impact and Genshin do have skins for characters, so I feel it's inevitable. As for alts, I'm not sure. All I'm gonna say is that Honkai has a ton of alts, so yeah. Trailblaze level 34 to 35 is about where the launch content ended for me. I had done pretty much every side quest I could do to hit that in about a week, and again, this is a lot of gameplay. I suggest taking it at your own pace because once you've done all the content, then what? Let's talk about the day-to-day gameplay for Star Realm and what the endgame appears to be like. As you progress, you will unlock dailies which grant large Trailblaze level experience. Once you go through all the content, this is the only way to progress account level besides spending stamina. Equilibrium levels also appear starting at level 20. This will raise the level of all the enemies in the world, but it also means better rewards. With more progression, you unlock more stages to farm. Eventually, you need to start ascending units and light cones, plus raise your trace levels. You also unlock relic caverns, which are the artifact domain replacement. Personally, I have not started farming relics just yet. If you explore and defeat formidable foes on the map, you can actually get a ton of drops for 4-star relics of 2 basic sets. There are also quests that grant full 4-piece sets, such as a set for your healer. Pom Pom also gives you relics for increasing your Trailblaze level. Like in Genshin, the general advice once again kind of appears to be to wait until you unlock the 5-star relics before going crazy with the farming. They don't even drop until Trailblaze level 40, and I assume it's not even a guaranteed drop until later on. For further progression, the Inter-Astral Peace Guide has a section for Operation Briefing. This is basically the in-game guide to progression, and it's a good way to check your progress. These grant light cones and artifact sets, so it's worth doing as you're playing. This brings us to the quote-unquote endgame modes. There are 2 things you should be doing that reset weekly. Echoes of War are the big boss fights in Star Rail. Redoing those fights net you items you're going to need for leveling up traces, and you only get 3 chances per week. Characters take different materials, so be sure to do the correct boss. The other weekly mode is the Simulated Universe, which is confusing at first, but you're meant to go back in multiple times because this is a roguelite mode. It comprises of multiple stages, and you unlock buffs to use in the same run. The first couple runs introduce new mechanics, and for completing runs, you're going to get a currency to unlock nodes on a skill tree specific to the mode. I believe you can re-enter as many times as you want, and even if you can't finish the world stage, you're still going to get points which will accumulate for the week. You can get some important rewards here, including the Herder Bond, which can be exchanged for 5-star light cones. Later stages also let you spend stamina to earn planar ornaments, which is the name of the right side 2-piece sets that are part of your relics. This is the other relic farming method you're going to be doing. The other endgame mode, called Forgotten Hall, is akin to Genshin Spiral Abyss in terms of reward structure. There is going to be an initial 15 stages you need to beat, and you're going to need to 3-star them for the most rewards. After this, you unlock another set of stages which offer rewards that reset periodically. You will also need 2 teams eventually. Forgotten Hall has modifiers for each stage, but it's nothing crazy like Simulated Universe, where you can craft entirely different playstyles based on the buffs you pick. I have no idea what Star Rail's events are going to be like, but these are the 2 permanent endgame modes to work toward at the moment. I think the biggest obstacle for introducing new players to Honkai Star Rail is going to be the combat. This style of turn-based gameplay, not for everyone, and probably immediately turned people away. I was one of them to an extent. However, I enjoyed the gameplay after spending some time with it. Getting past that barrier let me experience a very fun adventure of digging through trash cans, fighting imaginary demons from within a hotel dresser, and finding a mini neutron bomb in a random cardboard box. None of those things came from main quests. I was not expecting Honkai Star Rail's dialogue to be one of my favorite parts of the game. The main story starts off very daunting with a lot of terms and lore, but I'm interested. I loved how much certain characters got to shine through main or side quests, and that was enhanced with stellar VA work. To balance out that dense and heavy lore, you're gonna get a ton of silly dialogue options. That style may not be for everyone, but I appreciated the laughs, and it's clear the writers had a lot of fun. Overall, I would say the Honkai hype train deserves a look at. Boarding tickets are free, and you get a ton of content just with the launch. I recommend taking your time to enjoy the ride at your own pace. That's all I got for this video. I'll leave some promotional links for the game in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.